The other day I was thinking about motorcycling, and I was thinking about the types of people that ride. And I've come to the conclusion that really there are only two types of people. There are those who could or should ride a motorcycle, and then I think there are those who never should. I guess the real question is, which one are you, and how would you know?
I mean, it's not like there's a test you can take to tell that you're going to like riding motorcycles. And there's certainly not any specific, identifiable physical characteristics that are readily noticeable. So how could anyone ever truly know beforehand if they're going to like riding? While there is no surefire signs that motorcycling is right for you, there are some traits or qualities that show up again and again in lifelong riders from across the globe, spanning all generations. Many of these traits are with us since birth, but some of them evolve in us through experiences as we grow up. Most of us have very few memories about our childhood. About the only way we find out what we were like in our earliest days is listening to our parents tell stories about us as kids to their friends. And let's be honest, most of those stories are ones we'd rather never really be told because some are just downright embarrassing. But in those stories, your natural character is revealed. Apparently, I was never content to sit in one spot for long. I guess you could say it was a tendency to be constantly on the move, to explore, even if it meant getting into trouble, which was usually the case. Maybe it's intellectual curiosity that drives the instinct to move and explore, or maybe it's the exploration that leads us to have more questions than answers, and thus always be curious. But either way, traits like these are not something we're likely to pick up later in life. Rather, they're instinctual. They're written into our DNA. I don't remember when it started with me, but some of my earliest memories are of my insatiable need to find out how stuff worked. Usually this meant the average life expectancy of any loose item or toy within my reach was equivalent to the length of time it took me to disassemble or destroy it. And I still have the scar on my right index finger where a knife that I was using to dissect a golf ball slipped and sliced me down to the bone. But hey, I found out how a golf ball worked, which is ironic because I had no interest in golf. I still don't. But I just had to know why a golf ball bounced off a hard surface further than a baseball. I think it is the curiosity that led to a more focused approach as I grew older. I still had the need to find out how stuff worked, but I began to approach it in a more methodical and albeit safer manner. As a young boy, my curiosity morphed into a quest to understand all things mechanical. I had to know what made things tick. I was not satisfied just playing with some toy that had a motor or wind-up spring. I had to see exactly how and why it could do what it did. While some kids like competing against other kids in sports, like baseball or football, I found competition within myself. I never really cared much about sports as a kid. My competitive efforts were always focused on doing things better than I had before. Taking things apart was easy, but I began to see the ability to put them back together was a much higher aiming point and one that I was not going to miss. Most of the motorcyclists I know have all been hands-on types, some more than others. But they all seem to take the care and upkeep on their rides as something of a ritual. You might go so far as to say they have a very deep bond or dedication to their bike that is every bit a kind of relationship, if not an outright marriage. My first such encounter was with a bicycle I got for Christmas when I was 10. It was a brilliant metallic gold with blacked out accents and knobby tires. I still remember my heart racing when I first laid eyes on it. This was something I'd never felt. This was different. And I'm not ashamed to admit it, that bike was gorgeous, and I was in love. For that first day, I sat next to the bike and pored through the owner's manual in anticipation of my first maintenance. Caring for this bike took on a surreal meaning. It was as if it had become a duty or a motivation, and one that I fully embraced and welcomed. I think the reason most motorcyclists have a type of relationship with their bikes is because it's a two-way street. It's an understanding between rider and motorcycle. I take care of you, and you take care of me. Relationships tend to have an effect on us humans, as I think anyone who's been married can agree. Hopefully for the better. But our relationship with motorcycles tends to have as great an effect on us the longer we ride. I think when people hear you're a motorcyclist, they think you might be an outcast or a loner type. That stereotype was largely created first in Hollywood and adopted by society at large over the last 70 years. But I believe there's a lot more to this subject than meets the eye. In business, being a self-starter is looked at as a positive. It means someone who doesn't need constant supervision in order to get the job done. Now, I think motorcyclists that enjoy a long ride do so because they're confident and experienced enough to let go of the leash of having a support group with them when they ride. I find another reason that a lot of riders are becoming groups of one is that riding alone tends to sharpen your focus and decision making in a way that a group just can't match. By the time I was 14, many of the traits that steered me towards motorcycles were already deeply embedded in me, whether I knew it or not. As I look back, I feel lucky to have been able to experience motorcycles as early as I did. But what if I never got to ride early? Would I have found motorcycling later in life? Yeah, I think so. I think most of those traits that make someone want to ride and then embrace it when they do are universal, and they never go away once they're with us. I also think coming into motorcycles later in life has a few big advantages. As with age comes the most important traits a motorcyclist should have: wisdom and self-control. So if you're thinking about riding, and you've got the urge to explore, to experience new things, to do it yourself, a mechanical inclination, competitive drive, a calculated self-reliance, an individualistic approach while being self-motivated, capped with a dose of wisdom and self-control, well, these are all traits that can be found in most motorcyclists. So if this sounds like you, welcome to the club.